Welcome back to Brawlmaster Unscripted. This is the segment where I answer an assortment of questions, be they thoughtful or stupid. Before we get started, I have a bit of an announcement I want to make first. And that is that I am planning to reboot the Brawlmaster Unscripted series. I'm not canceling it. I want to make that very clear. The series is not ending. This is not the final installment. The other ones aren't going away. It's nothing like that. I'm simply thinking of rebooting the series. And what I mean by that is I'm essentially going to take all the little rules I had established and throw them in the trash and kind of start from scratch because it's just not working for me. Like, I'm not satisfied with how things are going right now. Like, I don't like the rules. It's making things too complicated for me to work with all these questions I'm getting. It's not working, and it's frustrating because I can't get these installments done because I'm not being very efficient with how it's going. And on top of that, and it's so painfully obvious to see, but like, I'm just not consistent with these things. I get questions asking about, thoughts on an upcoming game, and then by the time I finally get around to answering that question, the game's already been out. So the question becomes outdated, and that's obviously not your guys' fault. It's obviously my fault because I'm not getting around to answering it. So it's just the way I look at it from behind the scenes where I am, it's the entire thing is a mess. Production for this series has been a mess, and I just need to kind of reboot it, start over, come up with new rules, and just find a way to make this easier to get more parts out. Because I feel like the unscripted series does have an element of time sensitivity, and it's just I'm completely failing it at that aspect, and I just want to try to approach this from another perspective. So, all you really need to know is I haven't fully worked out everything for how I'm going to go about this series moving forward. I'm still kind of working out the details, but what I want you to know is that I am not going to be taking any more questions at this time. After this installment is done for this video, do not ask me any more questions because I'm not going to be able to work on anything because I'm going to be busy trying to figure out how I want to go forward with this series. So please do not ask me any more new questions just because you've seen that I made a new one here. Okay, I need time to work this through, so I would appreciate it if you hold off on asking questions until I know what I want to do with this series. And once I do figure out what I want to do with Unscripted moving forward, I will post an announcement video where I will go over all the new rules, how I want questions to be asked, and how I'm going to go about answering them. I do have an idea of what I want to do with it, so hopefully it won't take too long for me to get this announcement out there. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know I'm planning on rebooting this series. It's going to be a little bit different going forward. Hopefully it'll be for the better that way. But yeah, all I want from you guys is please don't ask any more questions until I make the announcement, and we can go from there because I need time to kind of work through how I want to do this. So I appreciate your cooperation as always. I appreciate your questions, and I appreciate that you guys do care so much about listening to my cringy monotone voice answering questions about honestly whatever the fuck you want to ask me about. So I appreciate everything you've done for me so far. I just need to figure out how to make this series better than how it is right now because just my current format is just not working. So enough about that. Let's go ahead and get into the questions. This first question comes from Gaming Wizard. What do you think of the Rugrats sequel All Grown Up? Did you enjoy it, and do you believe it was a successful sequel to the original Rugrats? Honestly, I was never really that big on Rugrats growing up. I don't know why. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was just never really one of my absolute favorites. I feel like I was really into it when I was, their age, when I was a baby myself. But, after that, I kind of grew up and I kind of grew out of it. There were other Nicktoons I remembered much more fondly, and when I think of Nicktoons, I think of those cartoons, much more prominently than Rugrats. I still do think of Rugrats, but I was just more indifferent to it than anything else, so I just never really cared for All Grown Up. I did watch it just because I was curious to see, what the babies were going to be like when they were older. And some of the choices they made were kind of strange. Like the whole thing with Tommy wanting to be a director. I have no idea where the hell that came from. The purple hair makes sense because of his dad, but when the hell did Tommy decide that he wanted to be a director and make movies and stuff? That never really made sense to me. And it was just kind of stuff like that. And I don't want to say All Grown Up was bad because it really wasn't terrible. I know some people say it was absolutely awful, but I kind of think it was just more forgettable than anything else. I mean, I feel like the characters just kind of got really bland and generic. They were the generic, teenagers. Like, they had generic teenage problems, like going to high school and dealing with relationships and breakups and stuff like that. And it was just the show, when I think about it now, was really kind of forgettable. Like, it just didn't have the same kind of originality or the same kind of charm that Rugrats had as a concept of a show. So I guess in that regard, it really was not a successful sequel to the original Rugrats, because it really did not do a lot of the same things that the original Rugrats did right. I mean, just the characters just became incredibly bland, and the episode plots just weren't really interesting. So again, I don't think the show was terrible. I just think it was incredibly forgettable, if nothing else. And if you haven't seen it, I honestly don't think you're missing much. I mean, you can check it out if you want to, but I honestly don't think that you would be, missing out on anything if you didn't. My friends and I actually have gone back and watched a couple episodes of All Grown Up in the past, but that was just us poking fun at how dull it is, just because it really is not anything special. It's not even like terrible enough to the point where it's noteworthy for being terrible. Next question comes from Jonathan Sosa. Have you played Star Fox Zero yet? If so, then what are your overall thoughts on the game, considering the polarization receptions the game has received from fans and critics? No, I have not played Star Fox Zero. The motion controls were a real deal breaker to me. I just did not like how the game was coming along. I did not like how there was so much emphasis on the motion controls, because I honestly just don't like motion controls in general. There are certain games where I don't mind the motion controls, and I actually think they can make the experience better, but those are very few and far between. Most of the time, I will prefer having a traditional controller over motion controls, and I just don't like how Star Fox Zero absolutely forces motion controls. And I know people are really divided about this. Some people absolutely hate the motion controls, and that kind of makes me want to think twice before getting it, but then there are other people who say that it just takes a little practice, and that when you get the hang of them, you love the motion controls. And it's just like, I just don't know, because I don't like motion controls that much in general. Again, there are exceptions, but most of the time I just don't like them. And I feel like I probably would be in the camp of people who don't like motion controls. And I know people could probably make the argument that I have this history of, being skeptical about certain games, and then I end up playing them anyway, and I end up enjoying them. I mean, Mario 3D World, and in a more recent example, Color Splash. Those were two games where I was very, very skeptical about, but then when I eventually tried them, I ended up absolutely loving them. So, but I think the difference between those games and why I think I would not have the same effect with Star Fox Zero is because those games were examples of Mario stuff, and Mario is a series I hold very dearly to my heart. I grew up with that series, and because of that, I think I have a little more tolerance for Mario's experimentation, because, I love the series so much. It means a lot to me, and I'm kind of always wanting to give all these new games a chance. I don't really have that same kind of personal connection with Star Fox. Like, I've played Star Fox games in the past, and I've enjoyed them, but I just don't have that same connection as I do with Mario. So, like, I think I'm just kind of more interested, and I'm more forgiving of Mario's experiments than Star Fox, just because I don't have that same personal connection with Star Fox. That being said, I don't think Zero looks absolutely terrible. I think I would be willing to give it a chance if and only if I could try it out for dirt cheap. Like, I would not want to pay more than like maybe $20 or something to try it out. But you know how it is with Nintendo games. These games very rarely ever get price drops. So, but as it is right now, I am not really willing to give Star Fox Zero a chance. Okay, next we have 3 questions from Ness in Pajamas. Number 1, what side of the Smash Brothers community annoys you more, at least when you pay attention to them? Those who want a game as fast as Melee, or those who want Ridley in Smash? I'd probably say the Melee side. I actually really feel bad for Ridley fans, just because it seems like when it comes to anything with Metroid recently in general with Nintendo, these guys can never catch a break. Like, you get, what was it? Federation Force, and you know how that went over. We didn't get Ridley in Smash. People are clamoring for a new Metroid game. Didn't get anything for the most recent anniversary. Like, I feel bad for these fans because they just keep getting the shaft. They keep getting the short end of the stick. Nintendo just won't throw them a bone. So I would say that I don't even, like, that I'm not. I would say I'm not even really annoyed by the Ridley fans anymore. I just feel sorry for them, and I just want Ridley to get into the game just because they've been wanting him for so long. So it's almost kind of by default that I'd say I'm more annoyed by the Melee side of the fan base. And do I even really need to explain why I'm annoyed by the Melee fans? Because the community is just, it's not new. This is not a recent development. It's been this way for probably over a decade now, at least. Um, Everybody who is even remotely familiar with Smash Brothers as a franchise probably has at least some idea of what the Melee community is like and why they can be considered infamous in some regards. Obviously, I'm not saying everyone who prefers Melee is an egotistical asshole, of course, but I've had more than my fair share of encounters with people who are like that, and those people are just ridiculous, and it makes me almost kind of not hate Melee, but just, I feel like a lot of the reason I don't care for Melee as much is because of what those people have done. But again, not everyone's like that. I'm not trying to place everyone into the same kind of camp, but just when it comes to Smash Brothers, Melee is like one of my least favorite topics. So, and I obviously am annoyed by them. It really sucks because this is beyond game mechanics. This is beyond the difference between Melee and Brawl. This is just like with people in general. Why is it so goddamn fucking hard for people to just respect each other's differences? Why is it so goddamn fucking hard for people to respect that not everybody loves Melee and that some people just prefer Brawl, or some people prefer Smash Wii U for this or that reason? It's not that fucking hard. I feel like we should have been brought up to be respectful of each other's differences, but it's the internet, so everyone's anonymous, everyone can be an asshole without any sort of punishment for it. It's really really goddamn depressing to me. Number 2, best potato chip flavor. I usually trust anything that's garlic flavored or sour cream and onion. That's usually been a pretty safe bet for me in terms of having potato chips that are good in flavor. Number 3, have you tried any racing game other than Mario Kart? And if so, what do you think of them? I've dabbled a little bit in the Sonic and All-Stars Racing series, primarily in Transformed. I'd say that game is almost criminally underrated because it really is a lot of fun. I was surprised by how much fun I've had with that game. It can be more challenging than Mario Kart at times because the challenge doesn't come in entirely from relying on item balance and rubber banding AI. The game is just much more challenging just in general, and I think the item balance in that game is much more tolerable than Mario Kart, in fact. So I'd say that's one thing that I like more about Transform than Mario Kart, is just the item balance and that the fact that there's a legitimate challenge in some parts of the game, and the challenge doesn't come just from cheap AI or getting hit by a ton of items. So I almost kind of feel like that's something that Transform does better than Mario Kart. And I also like Transform because it had, the switching vehicle types on the fly. I know Mario Kart does the whole transforming to, go underwater or to glide through the air, but it's honestly not really the same. I mean, Transformed, the vehicles in that game, they fully transform. Like, you go from a full-on cart onto a boat that, goes across the water, and they transform into hovercrafts and airplanes and stuff that actually fly through the air. Then you can fly really freely through the air. You're not just like gliding downward like in Mario Kart. The best way I can describe Transformed is like it's Diddy Kong Racing, like having different vehicles, but the difference is that these vehicles seamlessly, change in real time. And they do this because the tracks that you race on, they change in real time. Like between laps, the courses change in layout. So you're never racing on quite the same track more than once. So I just like that because it keeps it really fresh. It keeps you really engaged and on your toes. So I think that's another thing that Transform does better than Mario Kart. I don't know. I don't know if Mario Kart would ever attempt to do anything like what Transform does, like with the whole seamlessly transforming vehicles or having difficulty in any other regard than just item balance. I would be interested to see what a Mario Kart game like that would be like, but I just don't know if Nintendo even sees, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed as even sort of a threat at this point. I honestly would not blame them if they don't see it as a challenge, but I would just be interested to see what Mario Kart would do if it went in sort of that direction. But yeah, I think the All-Stars Racing series is kind of underrated, and if you haven't played these games, I'd say do it, especially play Transformed, because Transformed is really fun. Next, we have a question from Throwback Jr. If you could meet a voice actor, who would it be? Uh, Probably Yuri Lowenthal. No real reason in particular. I just really like his voice work. I don't really have anything I'd like be dying to ask him or anything. I just think it'd be nice if I could meet him just because I like his work. Next, we have 4 questions from Nathan the Moldy. Number 1. Have you ever played Epic Mickey? If so, do you think it is worth playing? I have not played Epic Mickey, so I can't really comment on if it's worth playing or not. But I hear some people say it really is. I just don't know for sure. Number 2. Have you ever watched Wander Over Yonder? No, but like a lot of cartoons, it's one I plan to get to eventually. That seems to be my default answer for any of these cartoon questions, but I'd rather be honest and repeat my honesty than lie to you guys, so yeah, it's on my list. Number 3. Do you think Who Framed Roger Rabbit holds up? And do you think it should have a sequel, considering how much animation has changed over 70 years? I definitely think Who Framed Roger Rabbit holds up as a movie. I think it's a very well done film. I don't know if it ever would really need a sequel of any kind. I think it was great as a standalone experience. Maybe if there was some kind of spiritual sequel to it, assuming that hasn't happened already, I could possibly see that, but like for a direct sequel, I don't think so. I don't think it needs one. And you're right, animation has changed a lot over the years, and I almost kind of feel like that's a challenge, because I don't know if there was any sort of attempt to do what kind of a modern day Who Framed Roger Rabbit, how successful that would be, or what that would look like if it would kind of live up to the same standard. I don't know if the cartoon characters that are, popular in modern times would be able to kind of have the same charm or the same heart as the original film. So I think it's not impossible to do any sort of spiritual sequel, but I think it'd be a lot more challenging. I think it'd be a lot more difficult to do it right. But then again, I don't think Roger Rabbit as a film needs any kind of sequel. I don't think it's absolutely asking for one. I think it's fine that we've gone this long without having one. And number 4, have you ever read Kingdom Keepers? I have not. But then again, I haven't done much reading this year, period, and that really irritates me because I just don't have time to. Next, we have 3 questions from Yoshi Star 75. Number 1, do you think that the new Super Mario Bros. Series should continue? Oh, hell no. Honestly, I get it. The original on DS was fantastic, and I think it deserved the praise it got for what it did at the time, but come on, I've talked about this before. Nintendo has milked the hell out of this series, and I've gotten so goddamn sick of it, and I'm glad it doesn't appear to be coming back anytime soon at the moment, because you guys know me. You know how I feel about this. I hate the impact that the success of the new Super Mario Bros. Games has had on the Mario franchise for, the past decade or so. I hate how they influenced what kind of Mario games we got during the Wii and the Wii U era. I mean, everything just felt so safe, so, recycled, so manufactured, so fake. Like, it just felt like the Mario series lost so much of its charm and passion and originality and ambition. It was always just the happy-go-lucky image for Mario. It was never anything new or interesting. I just got so sick of that because it just felt like Nintendo had completely run out of ideas, or that they weren't motivated to have any more new ideas with Mario as their flagship franchise, and I just got so sick of that. I hate that these games did that to one of my favorite franchises. And it just, you mentioned New Super Mario Bros. To me, that's one of the easiest ways to trigger me, because I just hate the impact those games had. Like, don't get me wrong, they were fun games, they really were, but it's just like, did we really need as many sequels as we got? I really don't think so, and I really don't think we need any more considering we have Mario Maker. So, like, where does 2D Mario go from here after Mario Maker? Because if you want a level, there's a pretty good chance you can make that level yourself within the game's, restrictions and guidelines and everything, and what you can and can't do in the game, and assuming it hasn't already been done on Mario Maker, because there are so many levels at this point. But yeah, like, I definitely don't think the new Super Mario Bros. Series should continue. It doesn't look like it's going to if Mario Odyssey has anything to say about it, and I'm really thankful for that, because I'm not going to miss this series at all. I do not like what it did to Mario, as a franchise during the Wii and the Wii U era at all. And I feel like I've discussed this to death, so probably best to just move on to the next question. Number 2. What do you want to see in a Mario Kart game for NX? There are a handful of things I would like to see. Probably the biggest one is no more coins. I hate the coin item with a passion in Mario Kart 8. I think it was a terrible idea. I hate the way it works, and I think it should never be implemented again. Aside from that, no more being lazy with the character roster. Mario Kart 8's character roster is one of the laziest ones I've ever seen in the series. And it's not that hard to do a good Mario Kart roster. I mean, it's not even the same thing with Smash Brothers, where they have to design like the models and the movesets and everything. It's literally just the models driving in cars and bikes. It's not that hard to do. And it's like, I just can't believe how lazy they got with Mario Kart 8. Having the Koopalings take up so many extra slots, having all of these stupid baby characters and all these different reskins of Mario and Peach and Bowser, it was just absolutely ridiculous. So that's one thing for sure they need to do better for the next Mario Kart, is have a better character roster. Include the characters we want to see. Like, it's great that Deluxe is getting, King Boo and Dry Bones and Bowser Jr., but like, let's bring back the other ones. Bring back Diddy Kong and Birdo, and hell, put in Professor Egad and Toadsworth, because those were noteworthy Mario characters that just kind of fell by the wayside and we just never saw them again, but they deserve to be in Mario Kart because of how unique they are. And because this whole new Super Mario Bros. Syndrome thing is over, I'm hoping that Nintendo will be a little more ambitious when it comes to Mario Kart. Like, they won't be playing it so safe with just, only the core Mario characters, nobody else. Like, let's get a little more fun with this. I feel like Mario Kart Wii was probably the best Mario Kart roster we had, so I kind of feel like they should look back at that one for inspiration. Aside from coins, aside from character roster, I think I just kind of want to see where Mario Kart is going to go from here. Is it going to, branch out and turn into Nintendo Kart by having more than just Mario characters? Like, is the whole Zelda and Animal Crossing and now Splatoon characters being in there, is that a sign that, we're kind of shifting gears from being Mario Kart into Nintendo Kart? I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'd be interested to see how they decide to go about that, but at the same time, I'm okay with it remaining as Mario Kart. I don't know what direction they're going to go in, and where do you go from, having, racing with different gravity, like racing upside down and on the walls and everything? Where do you honestly go from there? I mean, I have my idea of, I'd like to see how they would approach the Racing Transform formula, but I don't know if they ever will. I don't know if Nintendo sees that as, threatening competition or something that they should, be looking into. I honestly just don't know. But I'm genuinely curious to see where Mario Kart goes from here. Number 3. What are your thoughts on Ukulele? I never played Banjo-Kazooie. I know, crucify me. I never played it. I never played Banjo-Tooie, so I have no personal attachment to those games. I wasn't, funding the game because of nostalgia and because I want, those specific kind of rare experiences to come back. But I am interested in the game because I do miss having those 3D platformer collectathons like Banjo-Kazooie and Mario 64 and Donkey Kong 64. Like, I miss that style of gameplay, and I would like to play another 3D platformer where you're collecting a bunch of crap. So I do want to play Ukulele at some point. It's a shame, apparently, that it didn't turn out to be as absolutely amazing as everyone was hoping it would be. Apparently it does have some noteworthy flaws, but I do still want to play it at some point just because I miss this genre so much. And I'm hoping that after Ukulele and after Mario Odyssey that we will continue to see more 3D platformers like this. I'm hoping that this is a genre that's kind of coming back into style because it's something I really miss, and I would love to see it come back and play through them as an adult, just to feel like a kid again. Next we have 6 questions from Smash Mario Pro 2000. Number 1. Have you heard of the Runaway Guys? If you have, who is your favorite Runaway Guy? Also, if you have, what was your favorite playthrough by them? I have heard of the Runaway Guys, but I'm not subscribed to them. I don't watch a ton of them. I've only watched a little bit of their content. I'm more of a brain scratch commentaries guy myself, but I do like their Mario Party playthroughs because I love watching people torture each other on these games in general. I think it's so funny, and I miss this style of local multiplayer games, just getting together with your buddies and playing Mario Kart or Mario Party and just dicking on each other. I miss that so much, and I feel like that's kind of gone away. With online play and everything, and people growing up and not being able to play together all in the same room. And I never had that experience. Like, I never really had, or recently, I don't really have like a bunch of guys who we can all come over and play Mario Party while we're drunk on a Friday night or something. So I really do like watching, people on YouTube play with their friends and having such a great time screaming at each other and getting so upset. That's why I love watching Brain Scratch do it, and that's why I love watching the Runaway guys do it, because Mario Party just has that effect on people, especially the older ones. I just think there's kind of an art to it, to these kind of good times that they produce, and it feels like it's just kind of been lost in recent years, and Nintendo's doing an admirable job trying to kind of keep that couch multiplayer experience together, but it's just not the same. So I love those experiences. I love watching, group channels play them, and that's what I like about the Runaway guys. My favorite would probably have to be Chugga Conroy. I'm not subscribed to him, so I haven't watched a ton of his stuff, but I have watched a little bit of his content, and he seems like a really great guy, so he's probably my favorite by default. And yeah, I would just say I really enjoy their Mario Party playthroughs. Number 2, is there an old Nintendo IP you would like to see get a revival? Not off the top of my head. There's really not one that I'm personally clamoring for that we haven't seen in a million years. I would be happy for Metroid or F-Zero fans if they ever, got a proper continuation, but I'm not personally advocating for one myself. I, more than anything, just want to see, new installments or continuations of existing franchises that are still, moderately current. Especially for Switch, I want to see what Animal Crossing is going to look like on Nintendo Switch, or what Pokemon is going to do. Oh my god, the idea of a main series Pokemon game, with console power, with that hardware of having much more power, but the same core experience, and being able to take it with you or put it on your TV screen. Oh god, that gets me so excited. I really, really hope we get to see that on the Switch. And just stuff like that. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing what the other Nintendo franchises are going to look like on the Switch, and how they're going to take advantage of this new hardware, of being able to play those console experiences, but being able to take them on the go. So that's what I'm looking forward to more than anything, more than any sort of IP getting a Nintendo, getting the new Nintendo magic in the revival sense. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Oh god, just the idea of what Animal Crossing is going to look like. Oh my god, I really hope we get to see that at E3. Just even a teaser, that'd get me so excited. Number 3, what are things you want Nintendo to do with the Switch? It's kind of hard for me to say because I don't have a Switch yet. Those things are still impossible to find in my area, so I don't exactly know what they already can do from personal experience. I've done a lot of research, done my homework on what they do, but there's nothing that I personally am really clamoring for that I hope it does already. If I had to give an absolute answer, I'd say maybe I want Nintendo Switch to eventually get Netflix. I feel like that's such an obvious thing. I feel like that's almost something that we could come to expect to come to the system in the future. I don't know for certain if it will, but I just think, I'm such a busy guy that I don't have time to sit down and binge watch stuff on Netflix. There's stuff on Netflix I want to watch. I just don't have time at home to watch it because I'm never home. So I would love to be able to, pull that stuff up on my Switch when I'm, commuting on the bus or something, and being able to watch something on the size of the screen, because the size of the screen is really cool. So just the idea of that gets me really excited. I'd love to be able to watch, the next season of Stranger Things or BoJack Horseman, or continue watching, what am I watching? 7 Deadly Sins on the Switch, when I'm not home. I would really like that. So hopefully we'll get Netflix at some point. Kind of an obvious thing, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed because I haven't seen it yet. I don't think it's there yet to my knowledge. Number 4. If an older game from the older Nintendo consoles could have online, what would you want it to be and why? I would love to see any of the N64 multiplayer games. Mario Tennis, Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart 64 maybe. I don't know. Mario Kart 64 is not quite as good as the other ones, I guess. Maybe Mario Party. I would love to see Mario Party 2 or Mario Party 3 with online. I know there's a lot of complications with the idea of Mario Party having online because it's a really long sit-down session, and if someone's losing, they could just disconnect. Even if it was just for, you know, a collection of Mario Party 1 through 3 and just the mini games and being able to play those online. That would be really, really awesome to me. I would love that, especially for the Switch, because, you know, it'd be a pick up and play, you know, experience. You could pull out your Switch, play a couple of the Mario Party 2 mini games online a little bit, and then put it away, like instead of having to sit down and do the whole board experience. That would be so cool. I get excited of something like that. And just because the Mario Party series has not seen any sort of online component at all, and I just think that's such a missed opportunity. So I think this fits for your question just because the original Mario Party games are some of the most well received. They're some of the ones people love the most, especially Mario Party 2. I hear so many people say that that one is one of the best ones, and I'm kind of inclined to agree because I really love Mario Party 2 myself. I also love Mario Party 3. I played that a lot with my sister growing up, but Mario Party 2 is where it's at, man. Let's see. Number 5. What is a movie you like, but everyone else doesn't? Let me see. This is a great question, actually. I know it's something everybody gets asked, but I haven't really given this much thought. I feel like I need to make like a list or something like this because everybody does, but everybody has different answers for it. So I'd be kind of curious to just kind of sit down and think about it and see what my answers would be. But for the sake of your question, let me see if I can think of something. Oh, I'd say the movie is We're Back, A Dinosaur Story. Does anybody remember that one? I know that's an oldie. I loved that movie as a kid. It's such a nostalgia pick for me. It's almost a guilty pleasure because it's a very mediocre film. I definitely agree. It does not hold up well at all. It is such a forgettable movie. It has like no substance. It was very obviously made just to kind of cash in on the whole kids love dinosaurs thing. Like the movie has very little substance to it, but at the same time, it almost doesn't really fit with your question because the movie isn't really hated. Like, nobody looks at this movie and they think, oh my god, I hate that movie. It's more just, people are so meh about it. Like, it's so forgettable. People just think, oh, this was such a forgettable movie. It wasn't special. But I love this movie. I love it a lot because it was just one of those where I just watched it and I enjoyed it because I was a kid and I liked simpler things. So, the movie didn't have a lot of substance, and I'll watch it now, and I will definitely agree. Yeah, it doesn't really hold up. The plot is all over the place, but it's just like I watch it because it reminds me of simpler times. So, it's a very kind of almost kind of cutesy movie, and it's a feel-good movie because it reminds me of happier times. So it's a very nostalgic pick. So again, it's not really, to my knowledge, one that people hate. They just kind of forget about it. Like, I honestly forgot about this movie until Nostalgia Critic did a review about it. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot about that movie. I forgot it existed, and I kind of like rekindled my love of it again. So, post down in the comments, does anybody else remember this movie, We're Back, A Dinosaur Story? Does anybody else like it as much as me? It's okay if you don't. I totally get it, but I'm just curious. And number 6, what is your favorite food? For me, it's probably a burger with fries and a Dr. Pepper. I would have no complaints if that was my last meal on Earth, because I can never get sick of that. Next, we have 3 questions from Alpha Chris. Number 1, do you think Serena is going to come back for a Lola, or any of the Kalos companions for that matter? Oh god, I actually kind of forgot that Sun and Moon was a thing. I know I remember saying that I was on the fence about it. I wasn't sure if I was going to watch it, but truth be told, I have not watched it at all. And it's not even because of like resentment or anything. I legit forgot it existed. Like, I forgot that they were making this. So I haven't watched it at all. I have no idea what's going on with the series. I have no idea how it's being received, if people actually like it or not. I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet. I don't know if any of the Kalos companions are going to show up at all yet. And the reason I'm not sure is because of how different Sun and Moon is, you know, on the surface, from a glance, compared to the other seasons. Like, just the art style alone, you can tell it's very obviously trying to be something different. It's not just, you know, here's the next season after X and Y. And because it's so different, it makes me think that we're not going to see anyone from Kalos come back. if we were going to see anyone, I think it's pretty obvious it would be Serena. It's not going to be Clement because Clement's a gym leader. He's needed back in the Kalos region. And I know people can make the argument, oh, well, Brock was a gym leader too, but he left to travel with Ash. But it's just like, I don't know. Clement kind of had his arc with Ash. Like, he had his time of like developing his character with him, and he doesn't really have a reason to travel. His whole reason for traveling was traveling with Ash, and now that Ash is gone, he doesn't really have any reason to go anywhere. He's staying back at the gym, running the gym with Clembot and working on his inventions and stuff. And obviously Bonnie would not show up in Alola by herself. She's too young to be traveling on her own. So if she showed up, Clement would obviously not be very far behind. But again, I just don't see any reason for either of them to be in Alola. If it's going to be anyone, it's going to be Serena. I think it would just make sense for her to be there just because of how popular she is, of how well received she was as a character. But again, Sun and Moon, I have no idea what they're doing with the season. I have no idea how different it is, if it's even possible for someone to come back, if they're gonna, like, you know, plug the older series at all. But yeah, honestly, kind of thinking about it now, I feel like my feelings haven't really changed from, you know, the discussion video I did. I just don't really think she's going to be there. I don't think that they would have any sort of continuation of their relationship between Ash and Serena. Obviously, I would love it because I love Serena. So obviously, I would love if she came back, even if it was just for like an episode or two. But I just don't know. I'm not going to get my hopes up for it. I'm not going to, you know, go into watching the series and expecting it to happen. But again, I haven't watched it, so I don't even know if it has happened yet. I feel like if it has happened and I'm just not aware of it, that the news would eventually reach me. I don't think it's happened yet, because if it has, I think people would be like exploding about it. So, but yeah, getting way off track here. But if it's gonna be anybody, it's gotta be Serena. I just don't know if it's gonna happen or not. Number 2, do you think we will see a return of old companions like May, Misty, Brock ever again? Honestly, I doubt it. I really do. You know, Brock's off being a Pokemon doctor, so that's an even bigger commitment than just being a gym leader. So I don't think Brock is ever really going to come back into the show, just because his job wouldn't really let him travel around as much, you know, unless he's doing house calls or something like that for sick Pokemon. But I just think his chances of running into Ash, or even making special appearances on the show again, like he did with Silent that one time, I just think the chances of that are pretty slim. I feel like with Brock's new career now, his new dream of being a Pokemon doctor, even though it was kind of shitty how they dumped off his old dream of being a Pokemon breeder, but that's another can of worms. I just think just the way his character was kind of sent off, you know, at the end of Sinnoh, I feel like they kind of set him up into a position where Brock really can't come back to the show. As much as I miss him and as much as I would love for him to come back, I just don't think he can come back. I don't think we'll ever see May again in any real major capacity, just because I feel like her time has really kind of passed. You know, she's still doing the whole coordinator thing. She is traveling around, so she has more of a chance of running into Ash again than Brock does, I think. But I just feel like she doesn't really have any reason to come back, because Generation 3 was so long ago at this point. I feel like if she were to make a comeback, her best bet has kind of already come and gone. Like, that ship has already sailed. She would have had to come back during the Gen 3 remakes in order for her appearance to make sense. Now, if she were to come up and join Ash's team again out of the blue, it just really wouldn't make any sense. So I just think, yeah, Generation 3, even the remakes have gotten old at this point. We've moved on to other games and other generations. So I just think it just doesn't make sense for May to come back. So I just don't see any point in her coming back. And then as for Misty, I could have sworn someone said in an interview that Misty is for sure never coming back to the show as a main character. I can't remember the person's name, I can't remember who said it, but I'm pretty sure someone said in an interview that they have no plans of bringing Misty back. So I have absolutely no faith in her coming back at all. As much as I miss her, I don't think she's ever coming back. I would never hold my breath for it again. I lost hope for that, and I kind of found new hope with Serena. Like, I found new hope for Ash to find love with Serena, and I'm totally shipping them now instead of Ash and Misty, even though I was shipping those two for the longest time before Serena came along. But yeah, I think Misty's long gone, as much as I miss these old characters. And even like with Dawn was such a carbon copy of of May in terms of goals and aspirations and stuff. I feel like she would potentially make sense to come back if we ever got Gen 4 remakes, like for Diamond and Pearl, and they were incorporating that into the anime. I could see Dawn making some kind of appearance, but if that didn't happen for May with the Gen 3 remakes, I feel like it wouldn't really happen with Dawn for the Gen 4 remakes. But you never know, but at this point, it's been so long that we've been speculating about this that I honestly kind of given up hope. I don't think we're going to see these guys come back. Number 3, thoughts on regular show's ending? I kind of fell out of love with regular show. Not because of like what the show was doing or anything. It was my fault more than anything. I tried to get invested into it. I watched it for a while, but then I just kind of wasn't able to keep up with it. I stopped watching because I had other stuff going on, and I just never really gave the show a chance to pick itself back up and kind of continue on where I left off. So I obviously haven't seen the ending. I hear the ending is really something special, so I have been avoiding spoilers and everything. And it's one of those, I eventually want to get back into watching regular show. I know I have this growing list of cartoons I need to watch, but I really want to get back into watching regular show. And I want to see the ending. I just kind of finished what I started, especially because the ending is apparently something really special. So I can't comment on the ending. I haven't seen it, but I want to see it. I want to get to that point where I can see it. I want to sit down and watch the show again. Maybe I need to just move it up a little bit higher on my list. Next, we have 4 questions from Pendulum Wing. Number 1, will you ever dab in one of your videos? Why would you ever want that? No, really, why would you ever want that? Do you really want to see that? I mean, I'm cringy and awkward enough as it is. Isn't that enough for you? Why would you ever want to see that? I don't understand. Please, please, please tell me this is not something you want to see, because I'm for sure never gonna do it. I will spare your eyes of that awful image, even though now it's burned into my brain. So thanks a lot for that, Pendy. Thank you so much for that. But no, I will never willingly do that, and I hope that no one will ever want me to do that. You know, singing iCarly, that's fine. I can deal with that kind of humiliation, but I am not gonna fucking dab for you people, okay? No, fuck that. Next question. Number 2. Is Subway still your crack? Not really, no. I can't remember the last time I went to Subway, to be honest, so I guess I really can't say that it's my crack anymore, because I haven't been there in a while. If I had any sort of new crack now, I'd say I'm more into Culver's than anything else these days. Number 3, will I ever become rich and famous someday? Yes. Number 4, well, shit, I forgot the 4th question. Okay. Next we have 3 questions from Jak Daxter 19988. Number 1, what was a game that you wanted a lot as a kid but couldn't have because it was on a console you didn't own? I never owned a PlayStation or a PS2, so there were tons of games on those systems that I never really got to play. I did get to play some of them on PS3, like I eventually got to play Ratchet & Clank, Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper. I played all those, and Kingdom Hearts 2, I played all those on PS3. But there were games on the original PlayStation I never got to play. Like, I never got to play Crash Bandicoot, or Spyro, or Final Fantasy VII, and I'm not gonna lie, those are games I do kind of want to try, just because of how amazing they apparently are, and how fondly people remember them. So, those are games I'd want to play. I never owned a PlayStation, so I never got to play them. I was always a Nintendo kid. Number 2, if you could only keep one game per console you own, what would they be? Well, knowing me, I feel like they probably would be the Smash Brothers games, just because I can keep playing those games forever. Except maybe Melee. Number 3, call me maybe. Sure. Next we have 4 questions from Amazing Jeffrey. Number 1, would you like to see every single character in Super Smash Bros. Have his or her own story mode just like in Dead or Alive? Absolutely. I would love more story elements in Smash in general. Whether or not we'll actually get something that ambitious that involves 60 characters at this point, who knows? I mean, that's up to whoever decides to keep making these games. I feel like Sakurai probably would rather cut off his hand than to try to come up with story elements for that many characters in an individual sense, but I certainly would not be opposed to it. I would probably be opposed to the part about Sakurai cutting off his hand, but you know. Number 2. Did you like Dr. Seuss books as a kid? Sure did, just like everyone else. Number 3. Bacon or sausage? Sausage, although I do like turkey bacon, just not so much regular bacon. Number 4. This isn't really a question, but just giving you some advice. You should put a disclaimer on every Brawlmaster Unscripted video so that people will understand to put questions on this video only. That's some good advice, and I plan on rebooting the series anyway, so that's definitely something I can take into account. Thank you. Next is a question from Yoshi Freak 2000. Have you ever played the Crash Bandicoot series? If so, what is your favorite game in the series? I haven't played them, though I am kind of hoping this will change with the remakes that are coming soon on PS4, so hopefully I'll get to play those. Next is a question from Kaori Mikoto. Do you still talk with your friends that you had back when you were Brawlmaster 08, like AmphroseMan64, Green Toad, etc.? Not really. I kind of lost contact with all of those old people in general. I mean, I do miss them from time to time, and I do still remember all the great times we had together back in those days, but honestly, I try not to dwell on the past too much. It's just not healthy. I mean, people change. I miss these guys, and it would be so awesome if we could hang out again and discover new interests together, or even just kind of catch up on, you know, the good old days, but you know, people change. It's totally normal. People move on, and I don't blame these guys for not keeping in touch with me, and it's certainly not just their fault. Like, I haven't made much of an effort to reach out and talk to any of them, and it's just, we've all changed. Like, our interests are not really the same anymore, so it's just part of life, honestly. It's really nothing new. But, yeah, I do miss these guys, but I don't really make much of an effort to keep in touch with them. I've kind of moved on to other things. And I'm sure they have too. Next, we have 4 questions from, this guy, a regular guy 971. Number 1, how would you feel if Hugh Neutron busted down the door to your house one day? Hot. Number 2, are there any other Zelda games that you would like to try out? I would like to try Skyward Sword and maybe give Ocarina of Time another chance, but other than that, not really. I mean, I'm sticking to the main 3D Zelda games. Those are the ones I'm really enjoying so far. Number 3. Why do you still hate me so much? Regular guy, we have been over this. Do I really need to say it again? Apparently, I need to say it again. And here, I've got a t-shirt for us, just like I promised. Regular guy, we don't hate you. We just hate the things you do. And number 4, are you willing to just main Ryu in Smash already? Did a certain pedestrian mention my name? Next we have 6 questions from X Grace Igloo. Number 1, seeing as you've played and enjoyed Fire Emblem Awakening, do you think you will play more Fire Emblem games? I don't know, we'll see. I mean, I enjoyed Awakening, I really did, but it wasn't like one of my absolute favorite games of all time. I didn't absolutely fall madly in love with it. I mean, it was a good game. I enjoyed it. It's nothing like that. It's just, I don't know. I just didn't really feel compelled to like go out and play every other game in the series. It didn't resonate with me that much. I mostly played Awakening just because that was the game for everyone to play if they wanted to try Fire Emblem, and because, you know, it had Robin and Lucina from Smash, and I wanted to know more about who they were as characters. So I enjoyed Awakening, but like it didn't like absolutely make me fall madly in love with the series. So I skipped Fates. I didn't play any of the Fire Emblem Fates games, and nothing on the horizon has really caught my eye yet. So I guess I could say it's a little unlikely I will play more Fire Emblem games, but that can always change. You never know what they're gonna announce. So yeah, I wouldn't say like I'm absolutely like bouncing off the walls in excitement for Fire Emblem at the moment though. Number 2, thoughts on Overwatch? It looks interesting. I would like to give it a try at some point. I haven't played it yet, but I would like to play it just to see what all the hype is about, to see if I really think it's as good as everyone is saying it is. Number 3, favorite Disney movies? I'm gonna leave Pixar out of this just because that one's a little predictable and unfair. But sticking strictly with just Disney movies, I'd say some of my favorites include Mulan, Hercules, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Lilo and Stitch, and then kind of shifting more towards some of the more modern ones. I also really liked Wreck-It Ralph and one other one. What was it? Oh, Moana. I saw Moana recently. Or actually, it was a while ago, but yeah, I really liked Moana. That one was really good. I was surprised by how much I liked it. Number 4. Do you play Pokemon Go? Not anymore. I played it once, like back when it first came out, and I lost interest after a few days. I live in a semi-rural neighborhood, so there was really nothing for me to catch. I took a walk, like the first day I had it, walked around my neighborhood, and found absolutely nothing. And after that, I could kind of tell I was not really going to be invested in this game, just because, like, the game really was kind of designed for, you know, people who live in, like, cities or really populated areas. Like, where I live, that wasn't really the case. I mean, there were public spots where I could go to catch other Pokemon, but there wasn't really anything, like, in my immediate vicinity, so I really did not get invested in the game that much. It really wasn't worth the effort, in my opinion, to go out and try to catch them all by having to go all across the city just for it. Plus, the game was, like, really glitchy, and it crashed a lot, so it just wasn't worth my time, and I'm kind of glad that I just never really got sucked into it. It's kind of funny, though, because, like, I remember when it first came out, like, for the first couple of months it was out, like, it was literally everywhere. It was every single day there was something going on with the game. There was some article reporting on, oh, here's something new about Pokemon Go, or here's what happened to this person who was playing Pokemon Go. Like, it was constant, and I was getting, like, so fed up with it. I was getting so sick of it, like, constantly being shoved in my face, like, everywhere. And then one day it just kind of randomly died. Like, people just suddenly stopped caring, and they just moved on. And now it's like, I don't even know if anybody even still plays it anymore. Like, nobody talks about it anymore. I know they're still doing events, like they just did one for Easter recently, like with a bunch of eggs and stuff, but like, is anybody even still really playing it? Because I'm not, I know my friends aren't, I never hear my coworkers talking about it at work. They don't play it anymore, so I don't know, it's just kind of funny. It's kind of, that reminded me of a tangent I was kind of saving up, just about Pokemon Go and how ridiculous it was for a while. But yeah, I'm not a Pokemon Go player. I never really got hooked into it. Number 5. How did you feel about Marie winning instead of Callie in the final Splatfest? I was disappointed since I prefer Callie, but what's done is done. You know, congrats to Marie, congrats to the people who like her. It was a good game. It was one hell of a fight. We gave it everything we had, but there was only going to be one winner. And number 6. Favorite YouTubers? Let's see. Just off the top of my head, who can I think of that I'm subscribed to? I like the Jay Witz. He's a really good, you know, Nintendo Pokemon channel. He really knows what he's talking about. He has a lot of history and passion with Nintendo, and he's really professional. He's very family friendly, but he's also very professional. He's very nice about what he does. He's very well versed in everything Nintendo. He's a great guy. I would love to meet him in person and just shake his hand, just because I really respect the guy. Let's see, who else? Blame It on Jorge. He does a lot of really creepy, kind of disturbing content. He talks about a lot of lost media stuff, and I find that stuff really interesting. I love his presentation of his videos. They're very kind of, you know, they give that creepy atmosphere, like lost footage stuff. Does a lot of great stuff. I love his channel. PiGuyRules. Okay, PiGuyRules is interesting. I gotta go into a little more detail with him. I feel like PiGuyRules is the kind of cartoon ranter slash reviewer slash analyst that everyone was trying to be back in the early YouTube days. Like, I feel like even back when I was ranting, I was trying to be what PiGuyRules is, because the way he presents himself, like, he's just so professional about it. Like, he's very unbiased, he's very fair in his opinions. Like, he'll give his opinion on an episode of SpongeBob or whatever, and he'll come up with some criticism, but then he takes the time to really logically explain why that doesn't work, or why an episode like just is a bad episode or what's wrong with it. Like, he doesn't just bitch about it and say it's bad just for the sake of it, of getting attention, or just for the sake of getting people to agree with him. I feel like that's that's what a lot of the old school kind of ranters were doing. That's what I was doing. I was just complaining about cartoons because I knew people didn't like them, and I wanted to say that stuff because I wanted people to like me. And that blew up in my face. It fell apart. It didn't work. And I feel like that's why a lot of the old school kind of ranter channels just aren't around anymore, is because they were kind of doing the same thing. They were just complaining about cartoons for the sake of complaining, and people were latching onto them because they agreed. But PiGuyRules is different because he takes the time to really explain and explain it in a very logical way, what works and what doesn't with certain episodes of cartoons. He's very passionate about cartoons as an art form and everything, but he really knows what he's talking about. He's not just pulling stuff out of his ass like a lot of ranters I knew did, and that I was guilty of as well. So if you're really into those whole, you know, ranters and people who analyze cartoons and everything, check out PiGuyRules. He's awesome. Let's see, who else? God, there's so many channels I want to talk about. IntroSpecktive. He does a lot of Smash Brothers stuff, and I mainly subscribe to him because he's a Charizard main, so you don't see very many of those, and I look up to him in a sense. Let's see what else. IGN's Nintendo Voice Chat. I love these guys. They do a nice long podcast about Nintendo, and I just love to pull open their latest podcast and just listen to them talk about the latest Nintendo news while I'm playing Animal Crossing or something. I like these guys because even though they're with IGN and I don't really like IGN, I like listening to what these guys have to say. I feel like they're very well balanced in terms of having opinions about everything Nintendo. Like, you've got people on there who will praise Nintendo for certain things, and you've got people who will criticize Nintendo about certain things. And it's like, even though they will disagree with each other, they do it in a very, like, mature manner. Like, they're able to have that real legitimate debate, that very they have a lot of chemistry like that, and I just really like that. And now that I think about it, I feel like I like these guys more than Game Explain. Like, I know a lot of people like Game Explain, but honestly, to be quite honest, I don't really like Game Explain that much anymore. Like, I unsubscribed from them, and I just never really looked back. I just didn't really like their discussions anymore. I don't fully know why that happened with me. I kind of just think it was Andre. Like, Andre's a great guy and everything. I have nothing against the guy personally. I just don't really like listening to him talk about Nintendo sometimes. Like, I feel like he's just, I don't know, just some of the stuff he says sometimes just really I don't agree with. And like, oh my god, his fucking puns. Like, I get it, puns are funny for a while, but it's just the fact that he constantly does them. It just makes me cringe, and it's like, no, I don't want to watch this anymore. I don't want to watch these guys. I'll get my news for Nintendo stuff elsewhere. So, and when it comes to podcasts discussing about Nintendo, I like IGN Nintendo Voice Chat much better. So definitely check them out. They're looking for feedback. They're always looking for, you know, people to watch them all the time. So definitely check them out. I love them. Not going to go on for too much longer, I promise. There's like 2 more people I want to mention. Tigera21, his series Smash King is probably one of the best Smash Brothers machinimas you will ever watch. Go watch it right now. Like, the series is still ongoing, but oh my god, the story is so great. It's so awesome. Like, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. And I've watched a bunch of Smash Machinima. So definitely go check out Tigera21. Watch Smash King. It's really awesome. My friends and I, we need more people to talk about this with because it's so awesome, and we don't have enough people to talk about it with. There's so much to talk about with it. So please go watch it. Let me know what you think of it. If you want to talk about it with us, let me know. Let's see, last person I'll mention is NateWantsToBattle. He's one of my favorite YouTube music channels / singers. I love his voice. I love his presentation, and the way his production and everything. Like, he's great. I love his original content as well as his covers of like anime and cartoon songs and stuff like that. Like, I just downloaded his latest album, Sandcastle Kingdom, and that one's awesome. So yeah, there are plenty more. Obviously, I'm subscribed to a lot of people, and I'm trying to get into more channels too all the time, so I always have constant stuff to watch. But off the top of my head, and I've got a lot of people on my head apparently, got a lot of people there that I really like, and I like a lot of them for a lot of the same reasons. So yeah. And finally, let's finish this off with 5 questions from PSB 123. Number 1, what do you think of the upcoming 3DS game, Ever Oasis? I'm not really a big RPG on 3DS guy, so I'm not really interested in it, honestly. Number 2, what are your thoughts on Ruby? Yes, I actually pronounced it right this time. I saw, like, the very first, like, kind of season where the episodes were really, really short. They were, like, 5 minutes or something. I watched, like, the first 3 episodes of that, but then I just got really busy and I didn't have time to sit down and watch it. It's in my, like, watch later list on Netflix. I do want to sit down and binge watch it because I like what I've seen so far. I think the animation style is really interesting, how it's all, like, 3D models and everything. So I want to watch more of it. I like it so far, even though I've seen so very little of it, but it's interesting so far. Number 3, would you say that 2019 is an accurate guess for when Smash 5 will come out? Who knows at this point? I mean, these games take so freaking long to make. There's so much that goes into them. I mean, we don't even know yet if that Smash for Wii U port is even happening on Switch yet. Like, they haven't even announced anything. I think it's too early to be even thinking about Smash 5, whatever that is. 2019, what is it now? It's 2017? Actually, you know what? I take it back. I have to disagree with you. I think 2019 is way too early for Smash 5. I mean, these games take so many years to make, especially if they're going to try to, like, you know, build up from Smash Wii U, when Smash Wii U was massive in terms of, like, characters and everything like that. If they're going to try to build off of that, it's going to take a long time for them to make this game and to make it something that much greater, to make it something even bigger than Smash Wii U was. I feel like 2019, 2 years, that's way too early. That's way too much time for them to make the game. This is just a rough estimate, but honestly, I feel like the earliest we could expect to maybe start talking about it is way after 2020, like maybe 2022, 23 or so. Maybe that's a little bit too early. I honestly don't know. All I know is these games take a long time to make, and if they're going to keep going in this trend where they're just going to keep getting bigger and bigger roster, more characters, more stages, it's going to just take even longer to make. And oh my god, I really hope Sakurai doesn't subject himself to this. Because, like, I love what he does for these games, but oh my god, I will not blame him if he wants out at this point. Even though he keeps saying this is going to be my last game, and even though he keeps coming back, I would not blame him if he does not want to come back for the next one. But who knows? If we get a new director and they want to go in a different direction with Smash 5, maybe they won't want to build off the next game. Maybe they're going to kind of want to reboot the Smash Brothers series. And I know that scares people, but maybe that might be what they want to do just so they can get the next game out sooner. And if that's the case, maybe they would only need 3 years to get it done. So maybe in that scenario, 2019 would be more accurate. But going off of what we have established so far, that's all speculation. Going off of what we kind of know from past experience, I feel like 2019 is way too early. Number 4. Would you rather that Lucina and Dark Pit get their own movesets to declone them, or do you think they should just be alts of Marth and Pit? I say Lucina definitely should be her own character just because she isn't Marth. Yeah, she was pretending to be Marth, but at the end of the day, she isn't Marth. She's her own character, and I would like for that to be reflected in Smash Brothers because I really like Lucina as a character from Fire Emblem Awakening. Dark Pit, I really don't care about one way or the other because he's Dark Pit. Does anyone honestly care about Dark Pit? I feel like he's just like the... He is the joke character with the fans because nobody asked for him, and people just kind of do all the edge jokes with him. So if it were up to me and I had to make a decision about Dark Pit, I would say make him an alternate of Pit, just because at the end of the day they are the same character. Even though they have different personalities, and even though they use slightly different weapons, and they have slightly different, like, kind of, you know, movement physics and stuff and everything like that, he's still Pit. So just make him a costume of Pit. Lucina is not Marth. Lucina is a different character from Marth, and yeah, biased because I played Fire Emblem Awakening, but still, that's just what I would say. So make Lucina her own character with her own moveset, make Dark Pit just a costume. And finally, number 5. Roy has fire, Greninja and Corrin have water, Pikachu has lightning, Zelda has light, Mewtwo has darkness. A hopeful return for the Ice Climbers would have ice, and Isaac is a very wanted Earth-based character. What do you think of the idea of a Smash fighter with a moveset incorporating the wind element? Sure, why not? I don't know who would be a good wind character, but I have no reason to disagree with that. Slightly unrelated though, I'm not gonna lie, I almost thought your question was gonna go in some sort of Avatar or Captain Planet direction. I didn't expect for the question to end up like this, but it was a very original question. Sorry my answer was kind of half-assed. I don't really have any ideas. I don't really know very many characters who are strictly Nintendo and are strictly wind-based. But if there were ideas for it to happen, sure. I don't know if the whole element thing alone is enough to justify that character being there, but who knows? Okay, I think this has gone on for long enough. Thanks for sticking with me. As always, if you actually sat through this whole gargantuan of a video, keep an eye out for the announcement video. I'm going to be working on it. I'm going to be thinking really hard about it, taking some time to think about it. And I will explain what's going on. When you see a video announcing it, that's when you can kind of assume that, okay, going forward, this is what Unscripted is going to be like. But I just wanted to get this done because I owed you guys one. It's been so long since I've done Unscripted, so that's why I wanted to do one more of these in the older format, because you guys deserve one. But like I said in the beginning, please do not submit any more questions for Unscripted at this time. I'm not going to be taking any. I'm not going to be working on another one until I have figured out completely what I want to do with this series. So just hold off on your questions, wait for my announcement video, and we'll kind of go from there. But for now, as always, thanks again for the questions, guys. Thanks for watching. This has been Brawlmaster 012 signing off.